The OWCA is a secret spy agency made up of animals in fedoras, a humorless man named Monogram, and one intern who's definitely not getting paid. But nobody knows how this mysterious organization was started, who is in charge, and why a potted plant is one of their top agents. So today I'm going to be explaining the entire story of the OWCA. But first, we need to understand what the OWCA is. In OWCA, the agents are all animals. Every single one of them, like platypuses, chihuahuas, dogs, eagles, snails, you name it. If it's an animal and it can wear a tiny fedora, it can probably be a secret agent. The leadership, though, they're human, which creates this hilarious dynamic where you have a very serious-looking military man giving life-or-death mission briefings to a teal-colored platypus. The guy you see the most, the face of the agency for all intents and purposes, is Major Francis Monogram. He's the division leader for our boy, Perry the platypus.
I like the big finish, sir.
I can do without this sarcasm.
He's got this big office, this giant screen, and he's always got this stern look on his face, but you can tell he's got a soft spot for his agents. He's assisted by Carl, the perpetually unpaid intern. Carl is this nerdy, awkward, but super dedicated kid who seems to be training to be a leader himself one day. He does everything from handling the tech to working at the OWCA Adoption Center, where they place their animal agents with unsuspecting host families. It's a whole system. You think Phineas and Ferb just went to a regular pet store? Nope. Carl was probably there looking at the paperwork, making sure Agent P went to a family that was conveniently located near his assigned nemesis. The whole thing is a carefully orchestrated operation disguised as mundane pet ownership. But Monogram isn't the top dog, not by a long shot. We find this out in Day of the Living Gelatin when Perry accidentally drops into the wrong lair. It turns out there are multiple divisions. Perry's division is just one of many. We meet Admiral Wanda Acronym, who's in charge of another division, and her top agent is Pinky the Chihuahua, Isabella Garcia Shapiro's dog. This reveal blows the whole thing wide open. It's an entire secret world operating just beneath the surface of our own. For a while, it seemed like Monogram had his own boss, a guy named Colonel Contraction. But we'll get to the absolute mess that led to his departure later on. The point is, there's a hierarchy, even if it seems completely nonsensical at times. They even have connections to the actual government. Major Monogram can apparently just call the president if things get really bad, like when they need extra funding or resources for a mission. He even has enough pull to make a traffic ticket disappear for Lawrence Fletcher as a favor to Perry. Think about that. A platypus did his job so well that his boss used his government connections to fix his owner's legal trouble. The world is a strange place. Now let's talk about the agents themselves, the real heart and soul of the OWCA. These pets are highly trained operatives. They know multiple forms of martial arts, they're masters of disguise, and they're incredibly resourceful. The single most important piece of their identity is the brown fedora. It's their uniform, their symbol. It's so iconic that sometimes their own nemesis can't even recognize them without it. Doofenshmirtz has looked Perry dead in the eye, seen him as a regular platypus, and then Perry puts on the hat, and suddenly it's a platypus? Perry the platypus?
What was all that about? Perry the platypus! Perry the platypus! A platypus balloon? A Perry the platypus balloon! What do you see here? An ordinary platypus. And now, what do you see? Perry the platypus!
The hat holds mystical powers of identification, apparently. Each agent is assigned a specific nemesis. This is a core rule. Agent P gets Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Agent Pinky gets Professor Poofenplotz. It seems like the nemesis is chosen based on proximity to the agent's host family, which is just brilliant strategic placement. Why send an agent from across the country when you can have one living in the backyard of the guy you need to stop? This assignment creates a really weird, intimate relationship. Perry and Doofenshmirtz are the ultimate example of this. They are enemies, yes, but they're also friends? They have this bizarre frenemy dynamic. They know each other's routines, they have their little bits of banter they've called truces for Christmas. Doofenshmirtz is genuinely hurt when Perry doesn't show up. Their entire day is structured around their fight. It's a symbiotic relationship. Doof needs Perry to validate his evilness, and Perry needs Doof to have a mission. The agency has a very strict rule about this, by the way. The OWCA bylaws state that no additional agents are allowed to thwart any single evil scientist if said first agent assigned is still well and able to carry out his duties. This is why evil scientists are always trapping the agents. As long as Perry is stuck in a cage, he's technically still on the job, so the OWCA won't send backup. It's a loophole that gets exploited in almost every single episode. It's a terrible security protocol, but it makes for great television. And while almost every agent is an animal, there have been some very weird exceptions. Let's talk about Norm, the giant robot man built by Doofenshmirtz to be an evil assassin. He ends up helping Perry retrieve a disc with sensitive agency information on it.
What was that?
And for his trouble, he gets to briefly join the OWCA. There's a whole song, "And the Animals Go," and Norm is just there, this big metal dude singing along with a bunch of spy animals. It's surreal, but then Major Monogram decides it's just too weird that he's not an animal, so he has Carl fire him. Cold-blooded.
You know, Carl, it's weird that he's not an animal. We should fire him.
I am already on it, sir.
Then there's Planty the potted plant. Yes, a literal potted plant. Planty became an agent after accidentally defeating Dr. Doofenshmirtz after he was swung as a pendulum by the very trap he was caught in. The bar for entry is apparently very, very low, or very, very strange. The most noteworthy non-animal agent, however, is C.W.C.A. Hirano. This is a huge deal. It breaks all the rules. The primary directive for any agent is to keep their identity secret from their host family and anyone associated with them. If the secret gets out, the protocol is clear and brutal. The agent gets relocated to a new family, and the people who found out get their memories wiped. They even have pamphlets and videos to explain this horrible process to the family before they zap their brains. It's dark stuff, but C.W.C.A. Hirano finds a loophole in the episode Happy Birthday, Isabella. She sees Perry fighting Doofenshmirtz. She sees everything, and she just tells Perry she's not part of his host family and asks if they can keep it a secret. Perry thinks about it, then smiles and tips his fedora, agreeing with Stacy. To make sure the secret stays safe, Perry has Stacy lie to Monogram, telling him she's not home, which Monogram believes. It's a brilliant, simple solution. This lie allows her to keep her memories and Perry to stay with his family. Later on, she even gets to actively help Perry on a mission to save him, proving her loyalty. For her service, Perry recommends her, and she's officially inducted into the OWCA as an honorary member, Agent T for Teen. Of course, the most complicated case of all is Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz himself, the guy Perry is supposed to be fighting every day. After a long, long summer of failed schemes, there's a point where Doof actually tries to join the good guys. He gets hired by the OWCA and Agent Doof, but because he's, well, Doofenshmirtz, he gets fired the very same day. It was a disaster, but the story doesn't end there. After the summer, he apparently rejoins and starts proper training to become an agent, as seen in the OWCA files. The justification for this is absolutely insane. Major Monogram declares that because Doofenshmirtz was raised by ocelots as a child, he is legally considered an ocelot in the eyes of the law, thus qualifying him as an animal agent. You can't make this stuff up. And it's not always sunshine and fedoras. Sometimes agents go rogue. The most infamous example is Dennis, a rogue rabbit agent. The agency takes this stuff very seriously. When one of their own turns evil, they deploy other agents to take them down and imprison them. They have their own prison, which seems to be reserved for the really serious threats, like Dennis or another villain called the Regurgitator. It's very easy and stealthy for agents to do their jobs. Every agent has a secret lair, usually hidden somewhere in or around their host family's house. Perry's is an enormous, high-tech complex hidden beneath the Flynn Fletcher house, accessible through a ridiculous number of secret passages. These lairs are where they get their mission briefings from Major Monogram on his giant screen. The technology they have is off the charts. Jetpacks, laser watches, grappling hook guns, it's all top-of-the-line spy gear. They also have a whole training apparatus. There's a school called HSWCA, or High School Without a Cool Acronym, which Major Monogram's son, Monty Monogram, attended. We don't know the exact connection, but it's clearly part of the pipeline for developing new human talent for the agency, probably for leadership roles like Monogram's. The training for animal agents themselves seems to happen at the Adoption Center, or some other specialized facility. They come out as fully formed fighting machines who can also convincingly pretend to be a mindless pet. One minute, Perry is flawlessly executing a triple backflip laser dodging maneuver. The next, he's just staring blankly at a wall to maintain his cover as a platypus. The dedication is incredible. Now let's talk about the money, because an organization with this much high-tech gear, this many hidden layers, and a global network of agents must be incredibly expensive. And for a long time, it seemed like they were constantly on the verge of bankruptcy. Major Monogram was always complaining about not having enough money for this or that. Sometimes it would affect missions directly, forcing them to improvise or, as mentioned, call the president for a bailout. They once had to do a complete remodel of Perry's division headquarters just because Major Monogram's wife wanted it in a Mexican country style. The funding, which presumably comes from the government, always seemed stretched thin. In the episode Phineas and Ferb Save Summer, there's a massive ballroom event where the OWCA is celebrating something. But due to a booking mix-up, the evil scientists from LOVEMUFFIN, League of Villainous Evildoers, maniacally united for frightening inventions, are having their own event in the exact same ballroom at the exact same time. Naturally, a huge property-destroying battle breaks out. The damages are catastrophic. The bill is so enormous that it breaks the entire OWCA budget. The agency is forced to shut down. It's over. The original OWCA is declared defunct. All the agents are out of a job, but then Carl comes up with a plan. He tells Major Monogram, "Why don't you just start a new agency?" And Monogram does. He starts the new OWCA. What's the new name? OWCA. Where is it located? In the exact same building as the old one. Who are the agents? The exact same agents. What equipment are they using? The exact same equipment. It's the most brilliant and idiotic corporate restructuring in history. They just declared bankruptcy and then reopened under the same name with all the same assets. And to make this new, leaner organization work, to keep costs down on leadership, Major Monogram does something incredible. He fires his own boss, Colonel Contraction. He just looks him in the eye and says, "Your services will no longer be required." Monogram seizes control, becoming the new head honcho of his own self-declared agency. But here is the absolute best part of the whole budget thing. Much later, in the special OWCA files, Carl is going over the books and he makes a discovery. He realizes that the OWCA was never broke. Not even close. Their budget was massive, colossal even. The entire financial crisis, all the budget cuts, all the complaining, all of it was based on a lie, and that lie was a simple accounting error made by Major Monogram. When he was looking at the budget numbers, he was mistaking the commas for decimal points. He thought they had like $1,000.23 when they actually had over $1 million. For years, the entire organization was run as if it were on the brink of collapse because its leader can't do basic 4th grade math. It is the single most perfect explanation for all the weirdness and incompetence we see. Beyond the main agents and their nemesis, the OWCA has other assets. When a situation gets really serious, they call in the SSSN, the Super Secret Spy Network. These guys are no joke. They are the agency's paramilitary unit, fully armored, heavily armed special forces soldiers who work with deadly efficiency. We see them in action when Phineas and Ferb get busted and sent to a reformatory school. The SSSN are the ones who conduct the raids on high-priority targets. They are the agency's muscle. The big guns they bring out when a platypus with a fedora just isn't going to cut it. Interestingly, the building where a TV show called Dr. Feelbetter is recorded is also called SSSN, which is probably just a coincidence because you'd think they'd step in if a TV crew was trying to capture their agents. The agency also has to deal with international relations. They have ties to other major spy agencies, as seen in the Mission Marvel crossover, where they work alongside Child. This puts them in the same universe as Iron Man, Thor, and the Hulk, which is a mind-bending thought. A platypus is a colleague of Nick Fury. They also have a bit of a rivalry with the British Spy Union. At one point, they force Perry to team up with a British agent named Agent 000, who works for Inspector Initials. It's a clear parody of James Bond, and it's not just Britain. Canada has its own version, C.W.C.A, the Canadian organization without a cool acronym, except their branch, which is affiliated with the Canadian government, seems to use human agents. It's unknown if they have any animal operatives or if they just prefer polite Canadians in tactical gear. The story of the OWCA is also the story of the people who get accidentally tangled up in it. Phineas and Ferb themselves have never been official agents, but they've come dangerously close. They stumbled into Perry's lair once by accident in the episode Ready for the Bettys, and just thought it was Ferb's cool idea for the day, using all his spy gear without a second thought. They did it again on purpose during the events of Across the Second Dimension, using Perry's tech to get information on how to defeat the evil second dimension, Doofenshmirtz. Candace got even closer. In one of the weirdest episodes, Does This Duckbill Make Me Look Fat?, her mind gets swapped with Perry's. So you have Perry in Candace's body trying to continue his mission to stop Doofenshmirtz.
A teenage girl? Perry the teenage girl?
He's running around as a teenage girl, fighting evil, before they eventually get switched back. For a day, Candace Flynn was technically, if indirectly, Agent P. The organization even keeps files on people of interest. They have a photo of Candace in their OWCA photo file, which is a little creepy, but also makes sense given how often she's at the epicenter of whatever chaos is happening. The whole operation shows how good the agents are at keeping things secret. Think about it. Every day, a major battle between a secret agent platypus and an evil scientist happens in Danville. Inventions explode, buildings are altered, giant robots rampage, and yet nobody ever really figures it out. The evidence is always conveniently cleaned up, usually by one of Doofenshmirtz's innators self-destructing and taking Phineas and Ferb's giant project with it.
Follow that miniature golf course.
I don't see anything.
The OWCA doesn't seem to handle the cleanup. It's just a fortunate coincidence that keeps their secret safe day after day. The lore of the OWCA is surprisingly deep and has been built up over the entire run of the show. We know they have a history. An organization called C.W.C.A, the Secret Order of the Knights Without a Cool Acronym, existed back in 1914 in Panama, suggesting the agency's roots go back over a century. We know about their internal culture. They have annual Christmas parties, where all the agents get together and do a secret Santa gift exchange. We know their fedoras are more than just hats. They have microchips in them, as revealed in The Haberdasher. They probably contain tracking devices, communication gear, and who knows what else. Carl even made a web page for the OWCA, presumably hidden on the dark web or something, as seen in Misperceived Monotreme. The organization itself is a parody of all the great spy fiction of the 1960s, like The Man from UNCL. The naming convention of agents, using their first initial like Agent P, is a direct nod to things like Men in Black with their Agent K and Agent J. The name itself varies across the world, which is a fun little detail. In Spain, it's OSAI, Organización Sin Acrónimo Chulo. In Latin America, it's OSBA, Organización Sin Un Buen Acrónimo. In Brazil, it's OSUSB, Organização Sem Uma Sigla Bacana. In the Czech Republic, it's OHLA, Organizák Hledající Lepší Acronym, which translates to Organization Looking for a Better Acronym, a hilarious twist on the original joke. And in Polish, it's OBFS, but the word OWCA itself means sheep in Polish, which just adds the animal-based absurdity to the whole thing. The headquarters itself, at least for Perry's division, is this massive red-colored building. Inside, it looks like a typical office with agents working in cubicles while Major Monogram gets his own fancy office. There are tons of other agents we only get glimpses of, like we see an unnamed squirrel, a fox, and a lizard agent in one episode. A mongoose agent named Manny is mentioned. The biodiversity of their agent roster is staggering. Even with all this information, there are still so many unanswered questions. What is the full extent of their government involvement? Who founded the original SOKWCA in 1914? How exactly does one train a potted plant for espionage? There are even inconsistencies in the lore presented to the public, like a Christmas letter on a DVD calling it the Agency Without a Cool Acronym instead of Organization, or a Go-Gurt tube confusing the OWCA with the super secret spy network. These are probably just merchandising errors, but in-universe, they just add to the feeling that the whole operation is held together with duct tape and good intentions, run by a man who can't read a financial statement. It's the perfect engine for the show's B-plot, a secret war fought by pets against scientists who are more of a danger to themselves than anyone else, all overseen by a bureaucracy that is both incredibly high-tech and charmingly incompetent. It's the story of a platypus who is more than just a pet, and an organization that, despite its best efforts, couldn't come up with a cool acronym. But if you thought that was wild, wait until you see the dumb best Dr. Doofenshmirtz moments. Click the video on screen now